since January 1st of 2024, I've actually obtained 224 seller leads. In the last 30 days alone, I have had 48 seller leads. I do all my YouTube videos in one take. Absolutely leverage the power of artificial intelligence to write your descriptions, write your YouTube thumbnails. So much efficiencies come from ChatGPT that I strongly recommend diving into that and learning how to implement that in your business.
Let's talk all things listings and seller leads. Seller leads seem to be mission impossible for most agents, but they're not for Adam Fyfe. And today, he breaks down his entire process of how he's generating hundreds of seller leads on an ongoing, consistent basis, how he's wowing the leads, converting the leads, and he even shares his screen and walks through every step of the process, showing strategies I have never seen any other agent in my life do when it comes to over-delivering on the experience of working with sellers and converting those seller leads into consistent listings that you can absolutely crush. So if you're looking to generate listings and start to transition your business to a more seller-focused business, knowing all of the chaos that's going on with the NAR and DOJ, this is the blueprint. And again, Adam shares his screen and shows things that I've never seen anybody walk through. So two quick things before bringing on Adam and talking about how he's also leveraging artificial intelligence in order to generate seller leads. I'm going to link his channel below because he references it and pulls it up multiple times, and I want to make sure that you use that as a reference point of how you can start to generate seller leads on YouTube. And I'm going to link his calendar link below because he's built out this entire process for agents across all of North America, and he can personally help you deploy this into your market if you're looking to take your business to the next level. So without further ado, let's talk the hottest topic of the year, seller leads, how to generate them, but more importantly, how to convert them. All right, Adam, well, super excited to have you on here today. And we're going to be really diving into something that I think is probably the hottest topic in the industry right now with the NAR settlement and DOJ lawsuit and all this good stuff happening, which is seller leads. A lot of people are wanting to build a listing focused business. They want seller leads, but that seems to be some mythical pie in the sky creature that nobody can seemingly attain, is being able to generate consistent, predictable seller leads. And you know, you've been able to do that, and you've been able to do it in a very controlled but also intentional way. And I think your process from start to finish is second to none, like I've never seen before. And so I'm really excited to unpack this. But first, kind of give a quick little rundown who you are, where you're from, what you're up to, and then we'll start diving into some of your tactical seller lead strategies.
Rock on. Well, thank you very much, Mike, for having me back on the channel. Name's Adam Fyfe. I'm based here in Calgary, Alberta. Started in 2017, actually alongside with yourself, back in the days of the boutique brokerage. And yeah, kind of been rocking and rolling here, doing some different things. I started off my career doing a lot of online lead generation, doing cold calls and whatnot. And then I think it was 2021 where you really started to take off with your organization and started sharing some value about YouTube. And I just took that by the horns, man. You were talking about value-driven content and just talking about all of the stuff that you found success with. So I started replicating that back in like late 2021, started noticing some real changes in 2022, 2023 was my best year. And now 2024, I think I'm at 9 mil in sales volume for the year, and a big focus on seller leads because I've been able to develop a cool little web of systems that all collaborate with one another. And I've been able to really impress people online.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And again, you know, we've had you on the channel before, and I'm going to link the other video below because, you know, what you've been able to do in terms of generating also buyer leads when it comes to doing your real estate market updates is one of the best strategies that I've seen as well. So I'll make sure to link that in the description and the pinned comment, because for anybody that's looking to leverage YouTube and do value-driven content when it comes to the data, that's the best video anybody could start with. But let's start diving into seller leads, because we've talked about buyer leads. Now it's time to get to, you know, the exciting conversation that everybody's curious about. So, you know, what the heck are you doing to generate seller leads? That seems to be the, you know, question that a lot of people have is, well, you can only generate buyers leads on YouTube. You can't generate sellers leads. And that really isn't the case. So I'd love for you to kind of give some context as to what your strategy looks like.
Absolutely. Well, what we'll do here, Mike, is we'll go kind of back and forth here. I'll share my screen a little bit and talk about some of the stuff that I do online, because a lot of the success that I've had in real estate is because of the visual explanations that I've been able to provide people. Yes, of course, I can have a half decent phone call and I can qualify and I can, negotiate and all that stuff verbally. But when it comes to, getting a client to trust you, I really go and dive into the visuals of the process. So I've got 4 pillars that really help me excel in finding new seller leads. That is obtaining the lead, wowing the lead, closing the leads, and doing the work. So I'm going to try and tap into all 4 pillars here today and discuss about all of those various things. And at the very end of this as well, I'm going to give probably about 8 tactical tips that I've learned over my 5, 6, 7 year career at this point. So let's start off with obtaining the leads. And the easiest way that I have found to obtain the leads is through YouTube. So let's try this out for the first time. I'm going to share my screen here and hopefully you can see this okay. So This is my YouTube channel. It's nothing special. Like there's really nothing special about my YouTube channel. The biggest difference that I have compared to my competition is simply the consistency. So you can see that I have 3,000 subscribers, which is amazing. And I have almost 600 videos mixed between shorts and long form. So my long form videos, if you actually scroll through my channel, you can see that it's just consistently market reports. I do a total residential market report. I do a single family, a condo, a townhouse, and then a semi-detached video. Every single month, 5 videos a month. This has allowed me to create a following of people who come to my channel to look at the data of the Calgary real estate market. I know that in years past, we've had these conversations about, well, that's not evergreen content. That's fine. I'm not trying to create evergreen content. I'm trying to create people who consistently come back to me every single month about looking at what the market has done. So with that being said, you can see even 2 weeks ago, I had over 3,000 views, which is such a blessing, right? This is a long time in the making, and it's not something that I just started yesterday or even last year. This is something I've been doing consistently for 3 years. So within these videos that are around 15 to 13 minutes long, I have what's called an instant home evaluation. So what happens here is that people will go into this software, they'll put in their home address as I'm doing a call to action twice, one at the beginning, one kind of near the end. And people will go in here and they'll actually go and put their home address in and they'll get an email with an instant home evaluation. So that instant home evaluation just allows for a good opportunity for people to get that actual number right away. Now, let's be real. That number is not the most accurate number, and that's fine because they get the value right away. And then I'm able to follow up with them and give them my opinion on it. There's a lot of people that say, oh yeah, that's way under because I've done a renovation. Fair enough. Let's actually look at what you've done and let's see if that's added value. Or quite a bit of times I'm getting a lot of people that are shocked that they've purchased 3 to 5 years ago and the home prices have gone up so much. So there's a cool mix of how people interact with the home evaluation, but it's allowing me this opportunity to reach out and call them. And to give you context of this, in the last, let's call it 6 months of the year, since January 1st of 2024, I've actually obtained 224 seller leads. In the last 90 days, I've obtained 162 seller leads. In the last 30 days alone, going from, May of last month, I have had 48 seller leads. And these are free, right? I obviously pay for the software, but I don't have any additional marketing, right? I'm just doing the work and I'm going through and I'm explaining to people what the market's doing. And then I'm saying, hey, if you want to know what your home is valued at in today's market, go ahead and put it in this this software, and it spits them out this evaluation.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think it's really cool to hear the context of the numbers that you're generating. And also, I really love the fact that you gave context to the videos not being evergreen, but why that's still necessary. Because I see all these other YouTube coaches out there that are saying, don't do market reports. It's not evergreen. Mm-hmm. And truthfully, I think that's because most of them want to be lazy and they don't want to do the deep dive into actually getting the numbers to do a proper market report. I understand that it's good to have the majority of your content being evergreen, but when you look at the intent of somebody consuming a market report, they're so much more intentional than somebody that's just looking at a typical relocation video. And you've been able to build a really cool process around that and kind of niched yourself into that. And maybe you want to talk before we go on to the next step of what you're doing with wowing the leads. of this software? Because I know that you use AI and artificial intelligence, and I know that you're also really good at the call to action, because that's where a lot of agents fall short, where they just go through their video and it's basically like, hey, if you like this, you could reach out. But you're intentional with how you're trying to convert views into leads. Do you want to talk about that for a sec?
Well, I mean, that comes with time too, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you go back to some of my first videos, it's awkward as hell. And that's totally fine because it's a part of the process. So I think the thing that I really try to nail down at the beginning is I want people to watch the video, and then I want people to experience the same Adam when they call, text, email, or set up a Zoom call. I am not fake. I'm not trying to like pump people's tires and fluff it up, right? I tell people, look, this is probably not the best time to invest right now. It's probably not the best time to buy right now. We don't know what's going to happen in this inflated market that we're currently experiencing. Yes, there's a lot of speculation that the market's going to go up. CMHC has forecasted that we might increase by 20%. That's all fine and dandy, but I'm honest with people. So when I'm honest with people and I say, hey, if you are interested in what your home is valued at, go ahead and put it in the software. It's me. It's only me that looks at it. And yes, I'll probably call you and introduce myself, and that's fine, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are just curious, and I'm here to just provide a service, right? And if you're just curious and you just want to know what your home is valued at, I'm okay with that, right? I'm not pushy. I'm not pressure. If you want additional information, I'll provide it. But like, I mean, it's not complicated, man. It's not rocket science. It's literally like you're trying to talk to someone in person. You're just trying to share that on a video, which is going to get shared to 3,000 people.
Yeah, that's and that kind of leads to a really important kind of conclusion here is that a lot of people are going to hear the numbers that you rhymed off of the number of seller leads that you've generated over the last 90, 30, 45 days. And they're going to be like, well, why haven't you closed 50% of them? And I think what's really important is what you just said, is that it's really critical to understand that some people are just curious. No doesn't mean no forever. It means not now. Absolutely. And so, yes, you might be generating a ton of seller leads, and yes, you might be closing a fraction of them, which is respectable and also pretty much expected. But if you properly nurture those seller leads, when the market does shift, you're the one that's in front of them, and you've been able to provide value. And I think a lot of people are just focused on the now business, and if it doesn't convert now, that it's useless. But you've built this massive pipeline and database of people that will eventually sell, and you're the one that's getting in front of them first and providing them with context and tactical data.
Totally. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And that's the importance of having a good CRM, right? Like, we're really lucky to have a solid CRM offered by our brokerage, and just trying to tap into the monthly, quarterly, annually CMAs that are done by me personally. It takes me about 3 to 7 minutes, depending on how cookie cutter the home is, and just figuring out some of those data points and just trying to share that with people, right? And to be brutally honest with you, Mike, like it's hard. It's hard to keep up with the sheer amount of leads. Like my percentages are definitely very low, but I am building a pretty great database, and I'm trying to provide actual value and not burn and turn. So when you're trying to provide real value, you have to try to navigate to see like, okay, you don't want to push people off, but I mean, if they're only going to maybe get into the market in 12 to 24 months, that's fine. I'll set you up on a system, but I'm probably not going to follow up with you that much. Right. And you're trying to rely on your systems to try to make sure that that's done correctly.
100%. Yeah. So now that we've kind of talked about generating the leads and what kind of videos are working well and the systems that you're using, let's talk about when you actually get the leads and being able to wow those leads so that we could start to engage in conversation and really differentiate ourselves from other agents in the market that are taking that cookie cutter approach.
Totally. Like straight up, man, so it always starts with a phone call, right? Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much. It's Adam Fyfe. Some people are like, oh my God, it's a celebrity. I'm like, no, it's all right. I'm just a person, right? I'm just posting free YouTube videos and whatnot, and just trying to be thankful, right? I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are like, oh man, a realtor's calling me. He's going to want to buy or sell. But I try to honestly come from an approach of like, hey, thank you so much for using the system. Like, how are you liking the videos? Like, what do you think of the market? Like, what would you recommend that I do differently, right? Once you kind of crack that shell a little bit and they're like, oh, this guy's actually pretty chill, I can then do more of like hey, so like, what's your actual plan? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And they're a little bit more receptive to having a conversation. And truthfully, that could be like 2 phone calls away. And that's fine, because I'm trying to actually develop relationships. I think that you can agree with me that real estate agents find success over the next 20 years from repeat and referral business. So I'm not trying to be like, hey, ho, it's a hot market, sell right now. Well, that probably doesn't work for everyone. It's not their personal situation that is actually flexible for them. So just trying to be like that genuine person who's like smiley on the phone and just trying to be thankful about, being humble about them actually watching my YouTube channel and just, again, providing value. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's important that you talk about that long game because again, because the market's a little bit quirky right now, a lot of people aren't having the best year right now. They're starting to get that, for lack of a better term, commission breath, where they're pushing a narrative just to get the deal done as quickly as possible without looking at the bigger picture of helping, better understanding the fact that if you do the right thing the first time for these people,
Absolutely.
they are going to become those repeat and referral. But if you just burn every bridge that you start to build with these people, you're going to be chasing the next deal forever instead of building that consistent, predictable pipeline of people that are raving fans and want to continue to support, the fact that you've just poured into them for months on end. And when the time was right for them, you were the one that was there to step in and support.
Mike, I've lost count from the amount of comments that I've gotten from people like, hey man, I've been watching your channel for like a year. It's crazy what's going on with the market. Like, I'm ready to list. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, do you want to sit down and like have a conversation about like, like what the marketing looks like and all that stuff? Like, no, like, let's get photos next week. That literally happened like 2 weeks ago when I was actually visiting some family out of province. I got a phone call. This person was like, I'm ready to go. I wasn't even in Calgary. Luckily, my wife's in the business with me. She was able to do like some of the running around here in Calgary, but they were like, nope, let's go. We're ready to go. Like, no roadblocks, nothing. They were just ready to go. So that's been pretty sick because when I start to develop consistent content every single month, I have no idea who's watching my channel, but people are watching me for like a year or two. And then when they're ready, they reach out. But when it comes to trying to wow the lead, like this second pillar that we're on, Loom videos. I don't care if you use BombBomb, Loom, whatever, screen recording with a little video on the side there. Those are absolutely fantastic. I have gotten so comfortable showcasing past and present market reports, doing live calculations for unique properties that are not cookie cutter. Maybe they're a little bit more of a luxurious or like custom build. I can look at the market report from the year that they bought that house, and then I can look at what the pricing is now. I can try to have a general calculation and then showcase to them the percentage and then start looking at neighboring sales to see if that percentage is actually valuable, right? So it's like a very in-depth evaluation that I have done for people. We look at neighboring sales. We look at Google Maps. We look at some of my spreadsheets about like how I'm actually organizing, which we'll get into on the next point. And then just showcasing a lot of personal value, like talking to them saying, hey, Mike, thanks for reaching out. This is your property address. These are some neighboring sales. This is some of the stats in your community. If you're curious about like what this actually looks like for you and you want to know like commissions and whatnot, like reach out, right? And they're like, they watch this 10 to 13 minute video. They're like, oh, wow, he just fully recorded that for me. And like my follow-up phone calls from there are super chill.
Yeah, it's when I was on one of the, calls with Andy Frizzell and Mylett, they were talking about the fact that they built their business on understanding the concept that the value is in the inefficiencies, right? A lot of people are going to hear that and say, well, doing a 13-minute Loom video takes so much time. How am I going to do that for all these different people? It's like, well, you don't have leads because you're not willing to do that extra effort. Like, that's the whole point of this, is that you're complaining about something that you don't even have yet, which is seller leads, and you're going to complain that it's too much effort. Well, you don't have a right to complain when you don't have any seller leads. Like, this is how you get it. And you look at Andy's multi-billion-dollar business, and his team still writes handwritten cards for every single order. That's massively inefficient, but that's what differentiates them and allowed them to become the billion-dollar company. A lot of people are trying to put the cart before the horse. And I think that extra layer of value is what has led you to actually building these relationships and converting these leads. And it's really not that difficult because Loom, you can use it for free. And really, it's just being able to build rapport. And when nobody else in your market is willing to go through that effort, so many agents right now, based on the NAR settlement, are being like, how the heck do I create a value proposition? Right. Well, you do it through work ethic and differentiating yourself through the value that you're providing. And that's one of the best ways I've seen you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, like I've said at the beginning of this conversation, was that I'm me, right? Like when I'm recording a YouTube video, I try to take a breath. I just say, okay, here we go. I do all my YouTube videos in one take. If you actually watch my YouTube videos, you will not see any cuts, no edits, like literally one take. If I edit my own first video every single month on the first business day of the month, and I edit it myself, I upload it because it's speed to upload. So because I've gotten into that habit of doing one take YouTube videos, which are very important in my business, my Loom videos are also relaxed and comfortable. Like when I make a mistake on a Loom video, I don't restart. I strongly recommend not restarting your Loom video. If you kind of fumble over your words, like, oh man, don't worry about it, sorry, but like let me re-explain that, right? And you're showing your personality, you're showing that you're a person too. And yes, maybe you've explained something a little funny, but I'm being honest and transparent with people. And again, just trying to connect on that little bit of a deeper level with a virtual video.
Yeah, definitely. And before we go on to, some of the other things that you're doing in
Mhm.
order to convert these leads and how you're having conversations via Zoom and things like that,
Mhm.
some people are going to hear that and say, well, I can't do this because I can't record one take,
Yeah.
right? But, I've been, kind of entrenched in your YouTube journey since the beginning. And both you and I were at the point for years where we couldn't do videos in one take. And I
Yeah.
still can't do most of my videos in one take.
Fair
And
enough.
that's okay.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you built your business on that repetitive nature of not being perfect to the
Mhm.
point where, years later, you can do a video in one take, but
Yeah.
you can't get to the point of doing a video in one take unless you get started and do it for years consistently. Do you want to just talk about, giving context to your YouTube journey to maybe put some people at ease a little bit?
Mike, to get a crack, honestly, like if I'm feeling down and out for whatever reason, go and watch like my first market report. My face is like right here in the camera, and like I literally cut like after every second. So it's like da, 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 da. And like it's just awkward, right? And it takes time, it takes consistency, it takes effort. That's why the fail rate is so high in the real estate business, is because people don't have consistency long enough to get through the bullshit to actually have a consistent source of leads. So I have tried very hard since the beginning to do one take videos, but it took me a while to finally find that groove. And I post 5 videos a month, right? On market reports. Okay. I'm obviously going to have an advantage versus someone who posts one video of market reports one time a month. So, I mean, you can't compare my chapter 10 to your chapter 2. I love when you said that like years ago, because there are some behemoths here in Calgary and they have lots of views every single month. And yes, of course, it's kind of, it knocks you down a pedestal, but that's fine because I'm the little man who could, and I really am making a name for myself. And like I mentioned before, like just me and my wife, I'm already at 9 mil in sales volume. Like I'm happy. I'm not trying to become like some crazy millionaire in real estate. I just want to survive and live a good life, provide good value, and have good referrals with good clients. A lot of my clients are my friends, right? A lot of my clients who reach out to me and go to buy or sell real estate are like 30 to 40, and I actually have relationships with those people.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I like that you talked about, some of the competition, because there's pretty much at this point somebody doing pretty decent on YouTube in any of the major markets in North America.
Mhm.
And, if you're in a city where that's not the case, then you better get your shit together and get started.
Yeah.
But for most people, that's the case. And again, I think people look at that and there's one or two things that happen. Number one, those agents are actually doing pretty significant volume. And you have to realize that despite that being the case, there's more than enough business for every single person to achieve their goals in any
Mhm.
market, right? If you look at some of these top agents in our city, they might do maximum 60 deals a year, 70 deals a year solo, like at absolute best. There's 5,000 homes sold a year.
Mhm.
Okay, there's enough for you too. But then there's the other side of the coin where I've had conversations with people. I had a guy on our channel from Arizona, and there's a guy in his market that has 10 times the YouTube following, but he's doing on average one deal a quarter from YouTube. And the guy in our group is doing 6 figures a month with 10 times smaller following.
Mhm.
And so it's really important to, like you said, not compare yourself against other people. Yeah, it might, humble you a little bit when it comes to your content, but it doesn't mean that there's not enough for you. So, I'd love to go on to, kind of the next process that you take people through, because you've been able to take people through from that lead phase to having very intentional conversations that actually convert.
One of the things that I like to touch on when I'm recording that initial Loom video is not only the value in the actual, what this means for you as a seller and your price, but I'm going to share my screen again, and let's just go ahead and show you a little bit behind the scenes. So one of the things that I like to do is create and go over what I call my listing folders. So my listing folders, I've been doing them since 2017. If I go to old folders, or 2018, sorry. But when I go and I just look at a recent one that I've done, what I like to showcase my clients is what the value they're going to get when they actually decide to work with me. Again, I'm just busting through this quite quickly just to showcase a little bit of behind the scenes. I'm not getting into the full pitch. I just want to give them enough of a flavor to be like, oh, that's actually really cool. Tell me more about that. Let's set up a Zoom call. So a couple of things that I do for every single listing is a for sales folder and a feedback and marketing. So the for sales folder, we'll start off here, is a basic folder that I've created on Google Drive, which is a public accessible link that we put into Bitly, and we get additional eyes on it. So when I scroll down here and I go to the address, which I had, you can see I have an additional 137 clicks on one property. And then if I scroll down, there's another one here, 157. So that's 157 additional clicks that that I'm able to show my sellers saying, hey, yes, obviously we're going to post it on the MLS, which is the biggest search platform in our country, but I'm also going to post it on social media. And we'll get into that tracking in a second. But this listing folder here is very, very basic. You've got all of the photos here of the property. I've got additional photos that haven't actually made the cut, but I'm able to show that to potential buyers. I've got a pre-home inspection report. This is one of the service offerings that I offer my clients. I fully paid for an inspection report, which you can't open here because it's a very large file. I get my floor plans and my measurements. I go and I do the RPR, which is, I haven't actually uploaded this one. This one's already sold, but it is what it is. I have a title, a virtual tour, which is basically a walkthrough, as well as a recorded video that me and my wife does of the property with just a little bit of music in the background, and then some written information that we just have, like a listing description, social media posts, and feature sheets. So this link is publicly available on all social media platforms. And what we also do is a third-party marketing follow-up. Again, I kind of bust through these things really quickly, and I don't try to dive into it too much because I want them to be like, wow, that's really cool what you're doing. So Facebook, Kijiji, YouTube post, Instagram, LinkedIn, Craigslist, you can see the date that we post it. I have a bunch of different Facebook groups that my virtual assistant posts on my behalf, and we're consistently posting every single week, right? Multiple times a week. So my client can actually watch some of the progress that we have. We'll also link all of the different posts and whatnot so they can actually go and look at the marketing themselves. And then one of the biggest things that we've done, and one of the things I really believe that people should be doing, is a feedback spreadsheet. Now, this has been a game changer for me. I've done this since day one. I'm really happy I implemented this in my business. Again, I go through this really quick, but I say, look, every time we have a showing, I will manually, me personally, the realtor, will go in there, put the date, the time, the actual type of request, the name. I'll go through and I'll actually put some of the feedback that they've given, and then the last time that I've reached out. So this allows me an opportunity to go through, provide honest feedback to my clients, and then allow them to reach out to me and say, hey, you haven't reached out to Mike in a week. Like, where's he at? I see that he was marked yellow, right? Like, what's going on with that situation? So it really allows me this awesome opportunity to show my clients exactly what I'm doing behind the scenes and provide that value of like, oh, wow, this realtor actually does stuff that gets my home sold faster.
Yeah, man, just looking at that, the two things that I really kind of picked up on is, number one, I built the listing focused business where over 80% of my business was listings. And every time I talk to a seller, the number one thing they either hated about their past realtor or were looking for in a new realtor was proper communication. And the second aspect of it was being able to see that somebody's mutually invested in the sale of their home and not just putting it on the MLS and letting it become a sitting duck and praying to God that somebody comes along. And, when you do something like you just showed there, number one, it's impossible to say that you're not properly communicating because you're giving all the details, but it's also impossible not to say this person's putting in the work in order to be as transparent as possible, but proactively cover all the bases in order to get a home sold. And, when it comes to being able to build a value proposition, that's about as clear as it gets, because I don't see a single other agent that's going to that level of depth and transparency to be able to do the honest work and keep their clients in the loop.
Right. And it's crazy because I don't want to record YouTube videos showing that entire process. So that's why it's so important to call to action properly, because then one-on-one, people are like, oh, wow, I've given him some small trust. And now I'm really happy that I made that decision to reach out and give him my contact information. I'm going to show my screen one more time before I jump onto the next point here, because I also believe that this is really important. So if you do not have a checklist, get one. Get one today. If you do not have a checklist, I don't know how the hell you're staying up to date. So over the years, I've created what's called my procedures and checklists, right? So as you can see, I have a listing, right? Pull the title, create an iCloud folder, complete the FinTrack, sign the contracts, right? Going all the way down the list. I've manually created this over the years. Complete the SkySlope file. Did you add both lawyers to SkySlope? Did I remove the lockbox in the sign? So when I go to my active listings here, this is a live, real example of things that I have on the go, which I'm not going to get into too much detail for personal reasons. But I actively go through my listings, my buyers, my accepted offers, my condo document checklist. I usually buy my seller leads condo documents because I just don't want to deal with my sellers going through the hassle of it. So it's one of my service offerings that I offer my condo listings, and then a new agent checklist, which I'm currently growing. But regardless, the checklist here has been so advantageous for myself, showing that I know how to sell a property, and also being able to provide confidence that my seller is going to be top of mind every single day, and I'm going to make sure that nothing is dropped.
That's super cool. And what platform did you build that on?
So it's called Todoist. So it's to-do list without the L. It is really great native interactions with my iPhone, iPad, and computer.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's very similar to Trello or anything like that. But I think, that's where a lot of agents struggle to scale their business, is that they do repetitive tasks manually from scratch every single time, when if you do it once, you're going to have to do it again. And that's where you can start to build these efficiencies in your business, is if you know that you've got a specific process, which you should for a buyer and a seller and an investor and somebody relocating. When you do it once, just map out all those steps, because eventually if you bring on an assistant or a spouse or an admin, you'll be able to walk them through exactly what you do. Absolutely. Because you've already done it multiple times over, and that's how you start to scale. And I think, I really like that you showed that, because there's going to be people that hear about the Loom videos and the market reports and see that, Google Drive folder with all of these different things and say, oh my God, that's overwhelming. Well, yes, if you're not prepared and you don't have systems, right? Systems scale. And a lot of people are taking too much time to do it manually every time, instead of realizing, hey, if you just take about twice as much time to do it once but template it, you're going to save enormous amounts of time and get it done in 50% of the time every time thereafter.
So one of the things I want to just mention before we go on to the next pillar is that I do a lot of mundane, tedious tasks behind the scenes. There has been multiple days that I'm like, oh my God, I have to do all of this BS admin work. Why don't I hire an assistant, right? One, I want to do a lot of it, because then I can actually process and explain situations properly to my sellers. I take accountability for that. Two, when I actually ran my numbers of last year and I ran my dollar per hour just for an average 40-hour a week, even though I work a lot more than 40 hours a week, my income was pretty decent. Right. And when I start to think about all these, to-do lists and the listing folders and the spreadsheets, and I'm like, oh, this is just, I should be calling more seller leads. I should be getting more leads. Fair enough. But when I look back at my dollar per hour of last year, I'm like, oh, okay, probably making about that same amount right now. So that's fine. Let's continue to do this process. I'm not greedy. I try to be as humble as I can. And I'm still doing the work as a way to actually provide value to my clients.
Yeah, that's a really important point, because I think it's very easy for a lot of agents to be consuming content from people that have enormous goals. And it's like, yeah, if you're not making $1 million, what are you doing? If you're not, you should be aiming for this and aiming for that. The first and foremost thing that anybody should get clarity on the lifestyle that they want to build. And, I know some people that are saying, okay, their spouse is doing really well and they just want to have their own thing going on. And if they do 10 deals a year, then they're over the moon because that's their business.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Or there's some people that love to travel and it's like, okay, if I can just crank out 12, 15, 16 deals a year, but then I get the rest of the year to travel, then that's awesome. And I think you need to get clarity on yourself first because, if you want to get to $1 million a year, you need to take what you're doing and get an assistant and build out a team and have a buyer's agent and do all these different things. But if that's not your goal, you're going to absolutely hate every single aspect of that process. Yeah. And you're going to lose your passion for the industry. So don't look at what other people's goals are. Get clarity of what the heck do you want out of your life and go build it that way.
Yeah, I 100% agree, man. I'm not looking to be the top 1% in Calgary, not even close. If I can live a good life and I can have a good income where me and my wife are surviving, we have food on the table and we can go on our lovely trips every once in a while, like what else can you ask for, right? So really, really excited to have discovered that and try to stay humble. But let's move on to the last pillar here about closing the leads. So we've talked about obtaining the leads, wowing the leads, closing the leads, I skipped ahead. Obtaining the leads, wowing the leads. Let's talk about closing the leads, and then I'll talk about doing the work, which we just spoke on. So closing the leads, monthly CMAs, right? Monthly CMAs for me are so important. They take anywhere between 3 to 6 to 7 minutes, depending on how unique the property is. But even just this year alone, I've had 2 to 3 listings that I did my monthly CMAs. They replied to that email and said, hey, yeah, we're ready to go. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't even have a task to follow up with you properly. But there you go. I sent you the monthly CMA, which is a very basic cloud CMA presentation. I go to the MLS, I pull their community stats, and then I basically, in the body of the email, very brief. There is 5 active listings, there's 4 pending, and there's 3 sold with the average price of X. I would assume that your price is between a pretty large range. I usually do like 40 to 50,000. Like I'm not trying to niche in, but I'm just saying like a rough range to give people a general idea of what I believe their home is valued at.
Definitely. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I think having that repeatable process that's just value driven is exceptional. I used to do that just once a year for all the leads. And once you again can figure out a way to repeat that process in a very efficient manner, you're going to be in a really good position. But yeah, let's talk about closing some of those and, the Zoom conversations that you have, because there's other video efficiencies that you've been able to use that build more rapport than a traditional phone call per se.
Totally. And I hope we're not going in too long here. I really appreciate your time, Mike.
No.
Setting up the Zoom calls, I find is the most advantageous. Now, I've had multiple conversations more or less with people that like to do it the old school way, and I'm totally fine with that. But I always set up a Zoom call, even if it's 30 minutes, right? I want to have a one-on-one visual conversation with the prospective client first before I go to the home. And the reason is I want them to get a sense of who I am. I want them to ask me some of those very basic preliminary questions about what it is that I do, how I do business, and maybe what I charge, right? I have no problem talking about commissions on that Zoom call. I'm not afraid of it. I just spearhead that head on because I talk about my value. I'm able to do that brief listing presentation. I'm able to go over the listing folders. I'm able to go over the actual Pillar 9 CMA with them and talk about some of the listings. I get to ask them questions like, hey, I haven't seen your property yet. I saw your listing from like 3 to 15 years ago. Have you done any work? Oh, okay, you've done the kitchen, you've done the flooring, the paint. That's cool. Like that probably adds about this much of value. So I always go for the Zoom call. It's very efficient. Even if it's a 30 to 45 minute call, usually shoot for 60. But it just allows that opportunity to have those awkward marbles out of the mouth, because when I actually go and I do the walkthrough after the Zoom call, it's such an easier conversation. Like, hey, oh, wow, like this is a really nice renovation. I would suggest maybe you replace the light switches or the receptacles, or maybe put some LED light bulbs in, right? Like some of this minor stuff, but you're getting a lot of that BS kind of introduction out of the way when you do a 30-minute Zoom call from the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's where you can start to really go to that next level of being able to
Mhm.
build that rapport and differentiate your value from other people. Where, when you've had that preliminary conversation, you can go in to that in person one so much more prepared because now you know their
Mhm.
style, you know their cadence, you know what they're looking for,
Mhm.
and you can pretty much put the odds in your favor if they're interviewing other agents because you've got the upper hand. You've already had a
Absolutely.
conversation.
Totally. I go over all my service offerings too. Like I said, my condo leads or my condo listings, I don't really like condos, but I just do them because people obviously trust me and I'm not going to push away business. But like I'll pay for their condo documents, right? Like that's a $500 expense. I usually get the disclosure statement before we even list.
Hmm.
Typically, they last about 30 days if you're confident that you're going to sell fairly quick. For my homeowners, I'll either order them the RPR, they'll pay for the compliance. I'll do a pre-home inspection or I'll do some carpet service, some carpet cleaning for them. So I'm providing these values on the Zoom call. So they're like, oh yeah, this guy's actually invested into what we're trying to accomplish here. We're doing this together. So when I come over again, the walls are down, right? So when I used to go just to the property before the pandemic, I used to just go to the property because that's what you did. You did the walkthrough, you tried to get the appointment right away. And then you feel like you're kind of trying to sell yourself when you should be talking about the actual process itself. So it's a little bit of an interesting change of direction since the pandemic, but it's been very, very fruitful and allows me a good opportunity to just express what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, how much they're going to pay, and some rough ideas of price point virtually. So when I go there, it's a confirmation of that price point. Sometimes I go to homes, I'm like, ooh, that's a little bit less than I thought it was. And it's an awkward conversation, but it's one that I have to spearhead, right? I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. Let's just look at some of the comparables that are 50, 40, 50, $70,000 more. This is what your competition would be. Do you think that you're going to be positioned well against that person? And I put it on them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I always do the same is because when they say it, they believe it so much more than when you say it. And I love that you
absolutely.
can do that. That controls the conversation. One of the conversations that I had is, or one of the questions for you is about how far in advance do you have to start this process? So let's say I'm a seller and I'm saying, okay, Adam, I've got your incredible market reports. I'm considering selling. You've
Mhm.
got this incredible process built out. What are you telling me in terms of saying, okay, John, you're ready to go. Here's what we need to do. And here's the timeline.
Mhm. So obviously it depends on, let's just hypothetically say you're looking at listing in September, just as an
Mhm.
example. I would say, all right, John, let me do a monthly CMA for you. I'm actually going to record a Loom video, which is a little bit more personalized rather than just like the generic email that I send off. Every single month, around the end of the first week, starting of the second week, you're going to get an email from me just talking about the market, right? So every single month, they can obviously watch my YouTube videos and then they're going to get a personalized video. About 30 days before they plan on listing, I will start to reach out to them and just ask, okay, is there any smaller renovations that you need to do? Are you going to clean the property? Do you need me to order any documents or order a service for you, a pre-home inspection? Maybe we get that like 2 weeks in advance so that if there is things that are needed, we can pay for a professional to come and fix those things. That way we can, again, combat that. So when we put it up on our listing folder, we can say, here's the listing, or sorry, here is the inspection. We've already fixed ABCD. About 30 days is basically the short answer of that, just depending on what the actual product is.
Sure. That makes
Yeah.
sense. No, I think it's amazing, man. I think this really
Mhm.
gives context as to, where people can start, helping people better understand some of the content that generates consistent seller leads, because a lot of people do still have that misassumption that YouTube only generates buyer leads. Um, but you're also a servant at heart. And
Mhm.
I know that you help a lot of other agents that partner with you with this process and be able to kind of deploy this into their own market. I'd
Mhm.
love for you to kind of talk about that because you do have, too many leads on a local level, but also you help people across all of North America
Mhm.
be able to, again, implement this in their market. So, people have an opportunity to partner with both you and myself for free,
Mhm.
both of our help. What does that look like? And what do you do to help, agents that are maybe struggling this year to really unlock that next level?
Fair enough, man. Well, the last pillar is kind of ties in really well. The last pillar of the four pillars is doing the work, right?
Yeah.
Doing the work to make sure that you're actually going to get ahead fast enough. So I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to just show you one of the things that I've done for some of the people that have joined myself. So very, very happy to say that I have taken the time. I've learned what works and what doesn't work. And I've created this, what I call new agent checklist. So please, if you're watching this video, you're a newer agent, you're already with an organization, you're already doing your thing, that's fine. Just use this for your own value. But some of the things that I do when I take on a new agent and they're coming to me for a mentorship, I will sit down with them once a week, or we'll go on Zoom call and we'll go through this in its entirety, right? Start thinking about a brand, buy a domain, don't rely on your brokerage, download Todoist. I do that right away because I want you to have your active checklist. I want you to do the things that you need to do. Like I need to create an off-market listing strategy. It's a little bit of a yellow one. I'm a little behind on that, but it is what it is, right? It's on my mind when I look at that. Right? I want you to register with Krebs and Pillar 9. I want you to configure your CRM, right? I want you to go through, I want you to reconfigure the home screen. I want you to go through and I want you to actually go into the MLS, and I would ask that you blur this and you actually change all of the columns and the pillars to be more efficient for what you're going to do. If you're going to take the time, I don't want you to look at the MLS for 20 minutes. I want you to look at the data, get the information and move on, right? Sign into Workplace, go into social media accounts, sign up for all of these different programs, go and build that investor spreadsheet, go and build a subscription spreadsheet. Where's your financial base? How much are you paying per month for your subscription? It's very important to know. Build your pipeline spreadsheet. I'm also going to ask that you edit or you blur this out. This is my pipeline. This is my active pipeline. I track every single closed deal that I had. I have a green, a red, and a green. Greens are obviously what I'm trying to accomplish through a referral or a repeat client. Reds are YouTube, and then apartments and townhouses are yellow and red. I've got sold, conditional, the price, the gross commissions, all the pre-taxes, and some of the stuff that I've got coming up, and I can track all my numbers. So again, just ask that you please blur that. But I'm going through all of these different things, and I'm setting my agents up properly. Like I'm amazed that people get into the industry and the first thing they do is they want to tell their friends and family that they're in the business. Hell no. Set your foundation up, figure out what you need to do to find success. Use some of the leads that we generate, burn some bridges, get the marbles out of your mouth. Once you find comfort, then you can go and reach out to your friends and family, right? Let's start to focus on Lofty account. Let's consider paying for Manas and getting that AI home evaluation tool. Let's start calling leads together. Let's start dabbling with the Social Agent Academy and learning about the different social media platforms. Maybe you want to do a TikTok thing, maybe you want to do a YouTube thing, LinkedIn, whatever, right? Let's start dabbling into that. But you have to build your foundation first before you do a transaction. And there's a lot of different things that you need to do to find success. So if you're going to actually go ahead and do this, let's do it properly. Let's build your foundation and let's get you set up and try to get you at least 2 to 3 deals within your first 3 months.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Again, being able to have that really methodical and step-by-step sequentially ordered process is exactly what a lot of people need, because so many agents are struggling because they say the same thing. Every single struggling agent are for the exact same thing from, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to start with. I don't know where to go. I'm too distracted. I'm overwhelmed. There's so many things. And the only reason why you would ever feel that way is if you do not have structure and if you don't know that that structure is proven to work. And so when people know that the outcome of this has proven to work for so many other people and that all they have to do is wake up every day and follow the next step, that gives clarity as to the fact that, okay, you're pointing in the right direction. And as long as you keep following these things, you're going to be in a pretty good spot and you are going to be able to close those first couple of deals in the next, few months.
Yeah, absolutely. So just want to end with this, right? Like doing the work, that last pillar, doing the work. It is not the easiest thing to do. And I think that was about a year ago that you mentioned, find your base, right? Find your bare minimum, because we're all going to have good and bad days. Good days, you're going to crush out a 10 to 12 hour day. You're going to feel super accomplished. Bad day, you at least got to fill out a spreadsheet or follow up with some feedback or do something, right? You got to do something. So doing the work is not the most enjoyable process, but I can tell you from myself, just doing those mundane things over the last 5 years, 2024 and onwards, I feel like I'm going to have a pretty successful career because I'm doing a lot of the things behind the scenes, doing the spreadsheets, uploading all the documents to the listing folders and providing them to the agents on Pillar 9. I'm doing the monthly Loom video updates for my live listings. I'm doing the to-do list, and I'm just doing the work, and it's really paying off. Even though I should or could be just calling leads every day, all day, trying to get new listings, turn and burn, make more money. That's just not the business I want to run. I want to run a good, successful business that people are proud to refer me. And then when they have conversations behind the scene, they're both like, yeah, Adam, hell yeah, he's the best realtor we've ever dealt with.
I love that, man. It goes back to the concept of the saying that, if you do the work takes care of you. And as long as you do the right things over and over and over, so many people are way too focused on the outcome or the goal. All they think about is the 24 deals a year, the 12 deals a year, the 50 deals a year. But what they should be focusing on is just doing the right activities that, if they do that consistently, will lead to the 50 deals a year. And instead of being all wrapped up and consumed and, putting all this extra unnecessary stress on yourself of focusing on that outcome, just do the right things every day and the outcome will come. That's a byproduct of it. Absolutely. And I think you've embodied that so well. So again, Adam, thank you, man, for coming on here and being able to pour in, your incredible strategies. And guys, I'm going to link that other video after this, so you can make sure to check that out, because if you want consistent buyer leads that close at an incredible rate, you want to make sure to check that out, because Adam actually walks through how he does all of his market update videos so that you can do it for your market. But again, I'm going to link all your content below, Adam, so that people can partner with you, because again, I think right now more than ever, people need a guiding light. They need somebody that could just say, here's exactly what to do. And you've been able to create exactly that.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that. Let's end it with this. I'm just going to do a fire round of some tactical tips that, if you're going to get anything from the video, hopefully you at least got one or two things. Consider these, right? Some of the things that I've learned over the career is blue light lenses. I actually learned this from you, Mike, back in like 2017. These blue light lenses, if you're staring at your computer for hours on end, you absolutely need the blue light lenses. I notice a difference within like even an hour already being on the Zoom call. If you don't have a tablet to take notes or screen share, you need to buy a tablet. I actually use my iPhone as a webcam. As you can see, the iPhone is shaking here a little bit. Now that I've touched it, I screwed it up. But you need to get some sort of high quality camera, and an older iPhone, if you're using a Mac computer, is the best. And I think I messed up my actual camera here, so I apologize for the technical difficulties, but I shouldn't have actually touched it. So we're going to continue on here. One of the things that I really like is the rip off and duplicate, as I try to figure out what's going on with my camera here. Rip off and duplicate anything that you can find online. And then finally, use ChatGPT. Mike, so sorry for the camera difficulties here. I don't know what I've done, but I have touched it. I think I have to resume the video, but use ChatGPT where possible, and absolutely leverage the power of artificial intelligence to write your descriptions, write your YouTube thumbnails, write even your chapter titles. So much efficiencies come from ChatGPT that I strongly recommend diving into that and learning how to implement that into your business. So I had to save that one.
Saved it. Perfect timing, man. I love it. I think that's incredible. And again, goes to show you, when your setup's working, if it's not broken, don't try and fix it. So I love that, dude. Well, again, Adam, thank you, man. And again, guys, go check out all of Adam's incredible content. It truly is a wealth of knowledge and an incredible resource, and apply some of the things that you learned today. Because again, one of the best things that you could do is take whatever you learn from anything that you consume and implement it. The worst thing you can do is just spend the 50 minutes that you did today and not do anything with it, right? So Thanks again, Adam.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm turning all red now because I'm nervous. I screwed that up, but I appreciate your time, Mike. What you're doing is amazing. Thank you very much. I look forward to the next call, hopefully in the next few months, and see you on the next one.
You bet, man. Check out the next video, guys. You're going to love it. Take care.